Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you've broken your vow 1,000 times. Come, yet again, come. Rumi. I always open with that poem because I just love it so much. And I have been thinking about doing sort of an update video for weeks and weeks and maybe months and months. And I haven't done it because I kept thinking that I would come across something that would inspire me and I would um, kind of have something to share that would um, tie up sort of this stage, this period of cancer treatment and that sort of thing. And I certainly don't have that, but I decided to hop on anyway and to share with you some updates. And then um, also something that I came across today made me think like um, that there's no time like the present to just um, to sh- to share just what's going on. No profound anything, but a couple of good updates. So I have really quite a bit of good news. I some months ago I completed my sixth round of TCHP, and that was the harder chemo that I was doing every 3 weeks, and it was like two different kinds of chemo and two different kinds of targeted monoclonal treatments. And those were hard, and they kept getting harder. And I ended up having to get some blood, a couple of maybe several blood transfusions. And they were seemed to be stacking up, and I was having a lot of um, difficulty managing the symptoms and feeling really low. But thankfully, I got through that, and I feel a lot better now. So I've made it through the hard parts, I feel like. And then also, I had my bilateral mastectomy. I think I'm like, I can't even remember how many weeks out from my first one of those. Um, and during that, they did a pathological, they looked at where the tumor had been and they couldn't find any evidence of tumor. And then they took a couple of sentinel nodes and they didn't find any cancer there. So I did achieve what I was really hoping to achieve, that pathological complete response, because no invasive cancer, residual cancer was found. So that was excellent news. And we celebrated um, that, and it was um, really wonderful. Unfortunately, after I had that first mastectomy, I didn't heal well, and I had from the very beginning, I think the skin and some of the underlying tissue became necrotic, and so for about a little more than 4 weeks, I dealt with necrotic tissue there. We thought it was going to kind of resolve, and it didn't. I ended up in the hospital and had to have a second surgery to remove that necrotic tissue, which ended up having the drain tubes, which were yucky again. But so that healing was a lot more complicated than I imagined it would be. But I am on the other side of that. I think I'm like no, I'm more than that. I'm like 6 or 7 weeks out from the second surgery that I had. And although it's not cosmetically that nice, it is healthy, and I'm so thankful for that. And I feel really good. So I'm thankful for that too. So those are the good parts. Uh, so I wrote some notes because I still have brain fog, and I don't know if that's just my brain, how it's going to be from now on, or if it's like the residual from the chemo, or if it has to do with the I'm on some an estrogen blocker called anastrozole, because part of the cancer was um, driven by estrogen. So I think that can also cause brain fog. So this may just be the new normal for me. But anyway, I wrote notes so I could remember what I wanted to say. Um, so because I'm healing and because I got the PCR, I just um, and that was the news I was hoping and praying for. And I just wanted to thank everybody who had been joining me and my husband and everybody, uh, hoping and praying for that outcome too. So I'm so thankful to anybody who joined us in that. Um, a- so all that good news, and yet I'm still not quite finished with treatment. Every 3 weeks, I go and get Herceptin infusion, and I've been really confused about exactly what the two things that weren't the harsh chemo are for a while. I thought they were immunotherapy, and then I thought, from what my doctor said, that was like a little bit of chemo going directly to different receptors, like the HER2 positive proteins. But now I think, from the more I read, I think it's a monoclonal. It's not a chemo. It's a monoclonal something that like finds the HER2 protein and sort of sits on top of it or attaches to it so that it can't drive the growth of, if there's any little cancer cells around it, it won't drive that. Because that also is in my heart, I've had to do several echocardiograms because HER2 positive proteins also support heart health. I've had to do several echocardiograms, and I have to do those every 3 months. Will have to, as I continue the Herceptin um, infusions. And so, but those have been super easy. I've had 2 of those already. I have 11 total, so I have one every 3 weeks. And I have had 2 of those, and so far it's quick. Like, I think the first one was 90 minutes because it was a bigger dose, and then the last one was the actual infusion was only 30 minutes. It takes a while for the pharmacy to get it and to mix it up or whatever they do and get it to the nurse, but the infusion piece is really short. And I still have my port, so it's an easy, painless. And I really just feel a little tired a couple of days later. I haven't really noticed anything um, specific to that. I'm certainly not having that terrible taste in my mouth. I'm not experiencing diarrhea like I was before. I think my blood counts are still up. Sometimes it can impact white blood cells, so it can make somebody more susceptible to catching things. But so far, my white blood count has been going up, which is what we want, um, instead of being so low like it was before. So I think I'm getting better and better in that way too. So I feel really, really, really good. Um, and so I have been less hunkered down and more involved just in doing things around the house than I was before because I'm feeling more energy, um, and willing to go out more than I was before because I don't feel like I'm as susceptible to catching anything. I think my immunity may be back up to normal. I'm considering starting to swim again because I was really enjoying that before I got sick. And some difficult news that has happened recently is as my health has been improving, my mother has hit a rough patch with her cancer recovery. And so, anyway, I was able to go see her, which I really was thankful for because I hadn't been able to travel to help any with my mom or to do anything to support her, and I was able to see her and be with her a little bit, and see my brother who had been there helping her, and that was really nice. And then also see my sister and my brother-in-law, and my sister's uh, oldest grandkiddos, which I really enjoyed seeing them. So it's been sad, that my mom's hit a uh, tough patch. But I'm thankful that I feel good enough that I can do a little more to do my part. So it's kind of been, and I feel grateful that I'm in a place because it's been really all on my sister for a big stretch, and then my brother for the last month and a half or so, helping my mom. So um, I'm planning more trips to help out and to just be with my mom. And so I'm thankful thankful that I feel good enough to do that. I'm hoping that my mother um, rallies because the chemo just kept making her feel worse and worse after each treatment. There for a while, it was really helping both the immunotherapy and the chemo. It was really keeping her cancer beat back, and but it really at the last maybe handful of months, it's really taken a toll on her physically. I think the chemo itself, it's just hard. The chemo is so hard. So she's making some decisions around what she wants to do, next steps for her, and so for a long stretch, I was the one that people needed to show up for. They were showing up for me, and boy, they really did. I feel like I was quite supported, and now that I'm feeling better, I find myself grateful that I can be the one showing up for someone else a little bit. So, and then today, a friend of mine posted on her Facebook update that an author and who I really love, Rachel Naomi Remens, died on the 8th of August. And she is an author who wrote Kitchen Table Wisdom, and she's a physician and an author and a teacher about healing and illness. And she herself had severe Crohn's throughout her life probably, but I think that they discovered it when she was a teen. So she had like multiple surgeries through her teen and young adult years, and which informed her writing a lot, and I probably definitely her practice and her teaching around it. But anyway, her passing hit me hard because I really love her body of work. She also wrote a children's book more recently called The Birthday of the World or something that and she's the author of a book called My Grandfather's Blessings, which I have enjoyed all three of those books and her writing. Sometimes she writes articles, but she has a quote that I often thought of when I was practicing social work. It really spoke to me. It's bear with me as I read this, but it really captures something I've been thinking a lot about. It says, fixing and helping create a distance between people, but we cannot serve at a distance. We cannot serve that. We can only serve that to which we are profoundly connected. Helping, fixing, and serving represent three different ways of seeing life. When you help, you see life as weak. When you fix, you see life as broken. But when you serve, you see life as whole. Fixing and helping may be the work of the ego, and service the work of the soul. Because, well, she doesn't say because, but service rests on the premise that the nature of life is sacred and that life is a holy mystery which has an unknown purpose. When we serve, we know that we belong to life and to that purpose. From the perspective of service, we are all connected. All suffering is like my suffering, and all joy is like my joy. The impulse to serve emerges naturally and inevitably from this way of seeing. And so I've always liked that distinction between helping as seeing life or the other as weak, and fixing as seeing life or the other as broken, and that serving really understands our common humanity and our own wholeness and others' wholeness in a way that honors the mystery and strength really of one another. And I don't know, I wanted to share that because it seems like I was the one who needed serving or connecting to, and really that feeling of accompanying helped me, right? During the cancer, I was the one who needed um, somebody to hold space for me, and it looked different, right? Like sometimes it was coming to appointments, and Andre did that all the time. And then I felt accompanied in care, like when people would send me a note or text me or check in to see how I was doing. When I saw people watched a video about the update or you know, sent a funny meme or something, anything like that. I felt more accompanied. Sometimes people just listened while I cried and kvetched about what different things felt like. I know my husband was wonderful in some practically supporting me and accompanying me, and also allowing space for me just to feel all the things that I was feeling. And still continue to have times where I have um, feelings about certain side effects of things, or the outcomes of the mastectomy, or things like that. But I definitely have felt very accompanied, and it has made a difference. And I'm thinking about like the doctors who have made a difference for me during this, and nurses are ones who I felt were not necessarily helping or fixing, but more serving, like more accompanying me through. And so I'm thinking in particular, there's this one nurse. Well, she wasn't a nurse; she was a radio tech, and I may have talked radiology tech. I may have talked about her before. Echocardiogram tech. I don't know if that's different, but she was doing the ultrasound for the echocardiogram, and I had just gotten my port placed, and so I was feeling really vulnerable because my chest was, I bruised pretty easily, and it was pretty messed up, and I felt tender, and I was afraid she was going to go over here where my port was, and she was very gentle and tender, and my microphone probably just really messed up when I was doing that. But anyway, when I got ready to leave, I told her that I thanked her for being so gentle and kind to me, and she prayed with me, and she said, may everybody who touches you, may God's love flow through everybody who touches you, for your treatment. And it was so dear to me, and it felt so supportive. And the way I felt like she accompanied me, like that she too had known suffering. And I do think that's a piece of it, right? Like that idea that we can only really serve people when we feel connected to, like a profound connection to them or what they're going through. And so I felt that with her, and I felt that before and since with my treatment. I've had very good treatment, but not as profoundly as in that moment when I felt very like she saw my fear or trepidation, and she entered into what that would be like, and prayed with me that I would feel, I guess, met with compassion by other people that I came with. So I think a lot of people have accompanied me and served me through this time. And now I'm finding myself again on the other end of wanting to serve my mom in this case. But I do think there is a sense of having been vulnerable, and we all have that, right? There's such a vulnerability with being human. To be human is so vulnerable, I think. Physically, we're just so vulnerable to things that can happen. And so now being on the other side of it, and and having known what a difference it makes for people to come alongside of us and just to hold space, for us to be like, even in the middle of suffering, there's a wholeness inside of us. And I saw this with clients too. It's interesting talking about it now. It comes to me about how often I felt, in my own case when I was going to therapy, but definitely with clients too, when they were seeing me for therapy is there's this need within us, right, to have both be true. One is that I'm suffering and also there I'm whole, right? Like there's a wholeness and a part of us that's suffering. And so there's this we don't want to be eclipsed by, in this case, I didn't want cancer to identify all of who I am. There's a part of me, um, of course, beyond that, and the same for my mom. Even with this that she's going through, it's a big deal, and there's a wholeness there as well, right? Like there's a lot of suffering, and there's also a lot of who she is to be celebrated, right? Like it doesn't eclipse um, the wholeness. And so if we can, I think, hold those two things together, the wholeness of one another and also the vulnerability and the capacity and the propensity really for suffering that we all have, like that both are true. And so that's kind of what I hope to have to know. I mean, I think it's just brought that up for me, and I think it's a piece of what resonated with me for me about um, Dr. Remen's writing as well. Um, so in this way, I think that we take turns, right? We take turns in this life as we go through life, being the one to hold and being the one who's held, and so we take turns holding one another, and so sometimes I'm the one who needs someone to sit beside me. I just hold space for whatever's there. And sometimes I am the one who can sit beside someone and hold that space. So I don't think either one. Sometimes it's it was hard too for me to accept some help and some care and the need for it. Like it does feel diminishing, but I don't think it is diminishing. I think it's the human condition, right? Even though it feels diminishing sometimes to rely on help often, I I think it's part of the human condition. And then when we can see that it doesn't diminish us and that we're not noble if we're the one who is the serving one, any more noble, right? It's just us taking turns holding one another, um, I think. Um, yeah, they're just really different places that we occupy as we go through life, right? I think if we're, I think all of us are going to need to be held or supported or served or accompanied, and all of us, if we're lucky, I think if we're lucky, we'll have a chance to do that for others. Um, so I know I can't fix this, what my mom's gone through. I can't take away what she's going to have to experience or what she's experiencing now. But we can, I can, and we all can be there for one another, whether it's in physical presence or just holding people in our hearts and minds. I think, and it's a blessing and a grace to be able to do that. I think to sit together, you know, and we can really love one another in that way. I think there's a cultural narrative, and I've often bought into this, right? Like that being strong means that we don't really need anyone, like we can provide. I think a lot of times people go into the field of social work to be the one who helps, right? And so there's this sort of helper complex or savior complex or whatever you might say. And I do think this reminder of how the common humanity of it's not true that strength is that. I think strength is really that awareness that I can need you and you can need me, and that we aren't diminished by that, right? Like that we're just taking turns because we're all going to be in different spots where we need one another. Yeah, we can be vulnerable and useful at the same time. We can be held and still hold someone else, and I do think that's kind of the circle of it. I think in some ways I've been quilting more too. I have felt up to quilting, and I haven't done any new projects because I think, again, my thinking's not quite clear to organize myself around starting something new. But I have been working on an UFO is what they call them, but an unfinished object, something I had started some time ago, and I might take a picture of it and share it with you. It's on my board up there, and it was leftover pieces and some more that I um, put together with scraps from some quilts that I had made previously. But so it's been nice to be back sewing. But I think it's similar, like with the sewing, the piece of like all these different parts, these little individual pieces that even make up a block or a block, that they are enhanced by being put together by, and I think it's the same for us too, right? Like individually we hold a lot of beauty and different nice, things or things that are uniquely ours. And we are more beautiful when we can remember about connection. Like that Mother Teresa quote, if we suffer, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to one another. And I think we suffer and we belong to each other. I don't think we can miss out on the suffering piece. I know, I just think that's part of being human. Um, I I do think, like I said previously, that I wanted to wait to make the video until I came to some conclusion, or until I had some really seemed like final update about how I was doing. And I think the update is that I'm really doing really well right now. And also, there's the fear that lingers, like this is kind of an aggressive, or was an aggressive kind, and hopefully I'm in the percentage that it doesn't come back. But there's that fear, but and there's the physical changes that happen, from the chemo and certainly from the surgery, the physical changes. But um, trying to figure out what does it look like to occupy this new version of what 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 I am. Yeah, because I don't know what has shifted in me, what all has shifted, but I do feel like there's shifts that have happened, and I can't put my finger on it. I think I was hoping that I would have some idea about that I could share, but I don't really know what all those are. I I think um, I'm gonna do a little bit of sewing around that heart that I was working on when I was sitting with my mom. I had appliqued those hearts on the different little squares and then sewn those together, and I just now, well, recently picked back up trying to hand quilt around those hearts. So I'm going to do that. And if you have a sewing project and you want to get out of your head and into your hands with me, I would love that. But I, for what I'm talking about, I may talk while I'm doing the other thing, but there's a quote, and I need to have it here in front of me, and it's another Rachel Naomi Remens quote, but she says, "Perhaps the purpose of life is to grow in wisdom and to learn to love better." And I too feel like that her wisdom really speaks to me, because I do think for myself, I think that's what it is, right? Like I want to grow in wisdom and I want to learn to love better. And so I too think that's the purpose of life. And so if we go through hardships, maybe that's a piece of what we take away, right? Like, um, yeah, maybe a more intimate understanding of what it feels like to be vulnerable in ways that we didn't know before. And so, I don't know why I'm so teary. about this. And the idea of feeling vulnerable, I could see that in my own um, writing, right? Like there was a period where I feel it, but I think once we've, and we all have it, we all have different things that bring us to a point where we like, oh wow, this being human is difficult, right? Like, and there's challenges, and I think we all have that show up in our life. And if it hasn't shown up in yours, I'm thankful. And yet, I think it's part of being here. So, um, and for some people, there's a lot more suffering, and I wish that wasn't the case. But um, but there is a wholeness in us as well that can meet it often, right? And a great mystery, I think, in the universe that supports us through the hard times, and as we support one another. Um, and I'm probably just babbling on, so I'll break and then do the video of the heart, and I'm um, thankful again for our time together and for your support. So grateful um, for the way that I have felt accompanied through this time, and so much feeling, although I'm not completely out of the treatment window, that I am past the hard stuff. And so, at least for now, right? Like I um, feel really, really thankful to have to be on this side of it and to feel as good as I do, and to feel as loved as I have felt. And I'm so thankful for that. So thank you all. And again, I'm going to sew around one of the hearts here, and feel free to join me if you would like to. Thank you. Okay, I've settled in here and started to work on my quilt again. I'm actually having to dub over this part because I took off my sweatshirt and my microphone went was on my sweatshirt, so you couldn't hear anything I was saying. But at this point, I'm sewing around one of the little hearts, and and in general, I'm just talking about how it feels really good to pick back up that project again. And I think that part of the reason I've been able to sew again a little more is because I'm feeling so much better. And one of the really good things about feeling better is that I've been able to spend more time with my family again. My niece, my sister's youngest daughter, and her husband are here in San Antonio. And they have two younger kiddos. And while they're here, it's been really good to see them. During treatment, I had been avoiding the kids because I was so afraid of catching something and having to delay treatment. You know how kids are kind of germ factories after all. But I miss them terribly, and they're really cool kids. And before I got sick, I had really enjoyed them being close so that I could spend time with them. And my niece and her husband are wonderful to hang around with too, and great parents. And now that I'm feeling a little bit better, I'm a little less afraid of getting sick. I've been able to see them a good bit more. Not as much maybe as I would like to, but we're just trying to figure out what the balance is between hunkering down and seeing people again. I've always been a bit of a homebody anyway, and I'm probably a little more introverted than I am extroverted, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. It's a little bit out of focus, but I'm just working around my way around the little heart. I'm going to my mom's on Saturday, and I'll be there for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks maybe, and I'm hoping I can fit this quilt in my carry-on so that I can work on it while I'm there, while we're sitting together. I already have some clothes and things at her house from when I used to visit her so often, especially early before my diagnosis when she was going through chemo. So I'm thinking hopefully I can travel pretty lightly and still bring the quilt. I think my mom and I are similar in that we both really enjoy just being at home. Um, my brother and sister are more likely to want to go out and go places and see things, and I appreciate that about them because I end up seeing things when I'm with them. But and I enjoy, that sometimes too around here. But often I'm really happy at home with a good book or a hand project, sort of like this one I'm working on here. Um, but I was thinking I especially want to be able to bring this quilt because when I was before, when I was with my mom, when she was early in her treatment, I'd taken the little 5 by 5 inch squares and appliqued those hearts on them while we were sitting together. And so I think it'd be neat to sort of bring it full circle and quilt around the hearts while I'm sitting there with her. I think she'd be interested in seeing how it's kind of coming together. She really likes a lot of colors, and there's another quilt I made on the foot of her bed. Maybe I'll put a picture in here. It's really colorful, and Mom really likes a lot of different colors and likes colorful things. And I'm kind of more like my grandmother, my mom's mom. She is wearing a brown t-shirt, brown shorts, and that maybe black shorts, but I had on brown shorts before. But in the video, and I do like more muted earth tones and monochromatic colors, although I'm trying to wear a little more pink so I don't look so much like a boy with my hair short and no breasts. So maybe I need to update and get some more bright colors myself. But Mom really likes the bright colors. I think she'd enjoy this quilt as I work on it. In addition to sewing more and doing more things around the house and everything, Andre and I have been reading a lot more lately. I think my brain is finally working well enough to read again, and I'm really enjoying it. We've actually started having a library day on Mondays, and for several weeks we'd gone to the library, and I love it. There's something about leaving the library with a little pile of books that quenches, like, it feels abundant to me. It feels like, oh, I've been shopping except for I didn't have to pay for anything, and it's really, I love it. It's like all the good without the guilt. I feel like a book that I really enjoyed recently was Ann Patchett's new book, Whistler. And right now I'm reading a biography of Judy Blume, the author of Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, or I think Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing, or anyway, Judy Blume. It's interesting. I've just started it, but so far it's really good. Also recently listened to a very long audiobook on Libby, and it was nice when I was flying back and forth from my mom's, and it was like 30 some hours, but it was called, what was it called? The Water, Covenant of Water. I think that's the name of it, but it was a really good listen. And it had a lot of suffering in that book, but it was a lot of accompanying too. It was really, it's really a good book. Oh crap. I just realized this whole time I've been talking that I don't have the, oh man, when I took off my jacket, I been just talking and talking and talking. I finished the heart, which you were over on my jacket, so y'all probably couldn't hear about, but this is what we did together. And again, I was just chatting and chatting. But I'm going to say goodbye for now. And thank you for joining me. And this may be my very last video. I don't know what's in store for me, or but I feel I'm very thankful, and I feel very good, and I very much would appreciate if you could send good vibes and prayers. If you could pray for my mom and send her love and good vibes, I would very much appreciate that. We don't know what's ahead for her either, and we're hoping she rallies and feels much better. But we'll see. She's feeling down and feeling, depleted, but sounding actually better today than she has on previous days. So anyway, should get there on Saturday to see her and be there for about a week and a half, maybe not quite 2 weeks. But again, thank you guys for accompanying me and for everything.